The secondary sanctions on India is exposing cracks in the India-US relationship. Once touted as a strategic partnership, the alliance is now under stress, as disagreeable statements from Trump's inner circle, including Peter Navarro, add fuel to the fire. Navarro's labeling of the Ukraine conflict as Modi's war and accusations of Modi cozying up to authoritarians has personalized DC's increasingly shrill diatribe against India's Prime Minister. This is an escalation that could even blight the famed personal rapport between Modi and Trump. We've seen those photographs of the two of them, those pictures, bonhomie, etc. That could be fractured. And the discontent isn't just limited to India's purchase of Russian oil. It's extending to immigration, to even security sensitivities, as DC cozies up to Islamabad. Listen in first, viewers.
India's been a good friend, but India has charged basically more tariffs than almost any other country. You know that, right? Over the years. But now I'm in charge, and you just can't do that.
They say, oh, we're not going to stop buying Russian oil. Now, what does that mean? I mean, we've talked about this, but it's worth talking to your viewers again. When India buys Russian oil at a discount, and then Indian refiners, in partnership in India with Russian refiners, make that and sell it at a premium to the rest of the world, right? Russia uses the money it gets to fund its war machine, kill more Ukrainians, and then the next thing that happens, of course, is Ukraine comes to us and Europe and says, give us some more money.
H-1B, it's become a total scam. These companies game the system. You have some of these companies that are laying off large numbers of Americans while they're also getting new H-1Bs and renewing H-1Bs. And a lot of times people used to say, well, we're getting the cream of the crop from all around the world. The reality is that's not actually what H-1Bs are. Most of them are from one company or from one country, India. There's a cottage industry about how all that people make money.
Views of fallout has been that India is asserting its sovereign policy choices, engaging Russia and China pragmatically, a veritable tilt to the east. The question now is how deep this rift runs, whether it's temporary noise or a fundamental recalibration, and to what extent. Will Modi's government leverage its global standing in its dealings with DC? Let's open this up for an honest conversation and dialogue. We've had one in the first part of this show when we looked at the SCO. Time here now to shift focus. Lisa Curtis, Director of the Indo-Pacific Security Program at the Center for New American Security, is there with us. David Sofair, Republican strategist, and James Russell, Associate Professor, Department of National Affairs, with us. So let's open this conversation. Ms. Curtis, this isn't all going very well with the India-US relationship. But more than that, it's not going down very well with Indian diplomats. You've seen statements that have come out of the Indian External Affairs Ministry. There is consternation. It may not be expressed openly in the open manner in which we hear Trump officials, sort of lecturing India. But there is disquiet. How far damaged is this relationship right now, if at all? What's your assessment?
Well, I think the relationship has deteriorated significantly in the last, 4 to 6 weeks because of all this negative rhetoric coming out about the relationship. I think there was hope that the two sides might still reach some kind of trade agreement, that, India might agree to reduce its dependence on Russian oil. India, after all, hardly imported any Russian oil at all before Russia's invasion of Ukraine, but has been taking advantage of the discounted prices. So there does seem to be room for India to move on that issue. But I think you're right. I think we are seeing escalating rhetoric from the Trump administration, Peter Navarro in particular. I think the comment that Russia's war on Ukraine is Modi's war is unfortunate. But at the same time, We do know that India is importing quite a bit of Russian oil, and we know that Putin is escalating his attacks on the Ukrainian people. Just this morning, I heard 600 drone strikes by Russia, 17 Ukrainian civilians killed, including children, in those attacks. So, this is something that, there should be a resolution. The U.S.-India relationship is extremely important for both countries. And I think it's time for both sides to, take this discussion behind closed doors and find a way forward.
Well, I think that's an impossibility with the Trump team. I mean, they take to every platform to make their mind very clear. But you said the comments are negative. That's one way of saying it. But essentially, there is hypocrisy, and some would say a crass transactionalism and moral selectivity. So, David Sofed, this is not helping at all. I can understand that you want to make you want to reduce this entire association and connect it to a principle, which is that, look, don't buy Russian oil because it's funding the war, but then apply it across the board. Apply it with Europe, apply it with China, apply it also with India. That gives you a consistent and, a sort of moral authority. But here you're kind of losing it.
Well, sure. And, I think that America, it is our role really to do quite a few things as we make America fair again. I agree with your other panelist, Lisa's points. She had some good ones on one side of the coin. But what's really going on here is American free trade and American fair trade. And we are coming after countries to make America fair again. And that is for the greater good of not only democracy, but of global safety. And that is really being played out here in a very, very aggressive way, because we don't have a choice. We had 4 years of terrible foreign policy and very oppressive global trade. So now we are actually, as Americans, our administration is cleaning that up. So, some tough words were being said by Peter Navarro, and, I could see how that, is a point, that the Indians don't take kindly to. But with that being said, we have to make America strong again, and global safety is a huge priority. So Russian oil, I get why the Indian government is buying it. It's cheap and it's plentiful, but at the same time as we renegotiate, fair trade, and it's American fair trade, under the American Fair Trade Initiative and our Global Safety Initiative, which has been very successful so far on a domestic front and an international one as well. We have to be laser focused driving.
How is it successful internationally? Hang on, there's a couple of interventions I just want to quickly make, David Sofed. I mean, look.
Sure. Yes, please. Thank you.
We're coming at this from different points of view. You're sort of putting America first, which is within which is very legitimate.
America fair, and our initiatives are for the greater good of the world.
I don't think that's true.
It has to be fair domestically.
See,
that's fair domestically.
No, hang on, because if you were thinking about your allies and their interests also. Look, in every relationship, there has to be a give and take. So the Indians say, this is not our war. This is a war that has been fought, and if you believe Trump, by Biden, actually, it's Biden's war. I've inherited it. I want to stop it. Great. You want to stop it. That's great. But we're very far removed from the theater of action. Why should our people suffer? Why should 1.4 billion Indians suffer? Because two people couldn't keep it together in Europe. So fundamentally, the principles and the priorities of the West cannot dictate anymore, in a world that is supposed to be flat, how we should be responding. We have to put India first and Indians first.
Likewise, Mr. Trump, for a long time with your tariffs and others.
So that's what I'm saying. If this is going to be if that is going to be the conversation, two maximalist positions, then you're really burning the bridges. So Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared to say, okay, and you're not doing that with China, and you're not doing that with Europe. Europe
No,
trades,
that's not true at all. So there's been a huge
the volume of
negotiation.
trade, sir, between Europe
That's not
and
true.
Russia is much greater than the volume of trade between India and Russia. You see that? The facts are out there, indisputable. America is buying an amount of Russian oil and rare earth materials from Russia. You're trading with Russia, and you're saying, don't put Indians first, put Americans first. How does that work?
You know, I really see this, and this is just my personal view. I'd just like to say that, you know, I'm extremely pro-Indian, and I love the Indian government, and I'm pro-democracy, and and I think that these are all good points. Now, I see this really as a secondary negotiation to do with the, the tariffs and the American Fair Trade Initiative. So, and I really see this as getting resolved pretty fast.
No, but Mr. Sofair,
I don't see this
there's
as
a distinction that has been
relationship
made,
where-
and it has been made by Washington. Very quickly, before I bring in our third colleague here on the debate, James Russell. I'm just going to bring him in, but I just want to quickly press you on a quick points, Mr. Sofair.
Yes, please.
Look,
Yes, please.
this is not about tariffs anymore. That conversation
Sure is.
that conversation can be had. This is now about sanctions. There is a 25% plus sanction on India for doing business with Russia that we see everyone else doing very cozily. Europeans are doing it, the Americans are doing it, but they're getting away. The Chinese are doing it. They're getting away. So that's what is not squaring. That's not going to go away unless America says, okay, let's address this issue and slap this sanction across 3 continents. Then maybe we can have equity.
I mean, I think equity is quite a rich word. I see this, as, like I said, as a secondary tool to really push through the free trade initiative that we are aggressively fighting for in the States. So that's just my personal view.
Okay, so let me bring in James Russell. James Russell, if it's about ensuring free trade and fair trade and free trade, then shouldn't China be slapped with a sanction? Because surely the road through the road to free and fair trade runs through Beijing more, because they're buying more from Russia. They're supporting the Russian economy.
If I could make a comment about this to your viewers, I would say this: welcome to Trump land. Don't expect any consistency, either logical consistency or any strategic consistency in anything that comes out of this administration. President Trump has not surrounded himself with subject matter experts, for example, on the matter of the U.S.-India strategic relationship. His officials display no understanding of the historic context of the U.S.-India relationship, which has always included, as you correctly point out, a relationship with Russia that frankly has been wider and deeper between India and Russia than it has been with the United States. We in the United States, of course, would like that relationship to change, to return to put the United States in a primary position. But that displays a misunderstanding of India's historic independent line on a wide variety of international and geopolitical issues. I agree with my colleagues who say, this relationship is too important to be taken off track by arguing about, a few pennies here and there on international trade issues. But, you don't have a president who is pursuing strategic principles, who believes in strategic principles. Everything is transactional. Everything is for sale. That's the way the government in the United States, regrettably, today is run. And as I say, he does not have people around him who would add some breadth of knowledge and depth to their understanding of the U.S.-India relationship, its history and its evolution. This is a relationship that has been pursued across a wide variety of Republican and Democratic administrations to bring it to where it is today. And it's a great mistake for the United States politically to be allowing some argument over tariffs. And I don't mean to sort of downplay the importance of these issues, but it's a great for the president to be making such an issue of this and leading to the possibility of a rupture between two of the most important countries in the world. I mean, India is slated to become the world's largest economy in the next couple of years. The United States has to have economic relationships with this country. So I am not surprised at all.
Let me ask you, because James Russell, it's no longer just about tariffs. We've got a very important official from the Trump regime, DeSantis, from the Republican Party, who's a governor.
Regime, I mean, it's not a regime, but okay.
Sorry?
I said it's not a regime. It's
yeah. Well, well, okay, fair enough.
Go on.
Was that a Freudian slip? Anyhow, coming back to the point, Mr. Russell, the fact of the matter is that they're also now suggesting that H-1B visas are an Indian cottage industry. That sort of pincering of India now, even on that issue, blaming it for coming up with this and benefiting from it, creates once again the impression that this is more than just about tariffs. This is about something else.
I think I take issue with this sort of whole idea, again, of these mischaracterizations of these immigration issues. The American Indian population, there isn't any other way around it, is an extremely important and vibrant community. All anyone has to do is go out to Silicon Valley or anywhere on the West Coast or in any major urban area in the United States, and who do you see? You see American Indians with strong family ties pursuing the American dream, right? In some ways, they're more devoted to the American dream than the Americans themselves, oddly. But the point here is that we lack leadership, I think, at the grand strategic level to keep us focused on what's important and what's not. And that's my message to you, which is that.
So let me bring in Lisa Curtis on this point. If you listen to what's coming out of Washington, D.C. from the Trump regime, from the Trump administration, Lisa Curtis, it almost appears as if India is an interloper when it comes to global affairs, and Indians in the United States are parasites. Those formulations, not expressly spoken, but insinuated, they suggest that there's something greater at play here. What could it be, in your opinion?
Well, first, let me say, I think James made some really important points about the importance of the U.S.-India strategic relationship, how much people have been investing in this relationship, Republican, Democratic leaders alike, over the last 25 years. And I think that the Trump administration is mishandling this very important relationship. And we seem to be facing, what looks like a perfect storm. And the Trump administration seems to keep piling on with its criticisms and, barbs at India. And the latest one on the H-1B visas, it does concern me that this could be another problem that comes up between the two countries, and that even though things look pretty bad now, they could get worse between the U.S. and India under this second Trump administration, which brings me to my next point about how differently the first Trump administration handled the relationship with India from now. And if we look back at the first Trump administration, where I served as senior director at the National Security Council, we see that the Trump administration saw India as an important partner in trying to manage China's rise. And there was a lot of investment in that relationship. And by the time Trump won left office in January 2021, I would say the U.S.-India relationship was at an all-time high. Now, what do we see? We see a deteriorating relationship. We see Indians losing confidence and trust, hard-won trust that the U.S. has been trying to build for 20 years. We're seeing that go down the drain. We're seeing that, India is feeling more compelled to accommodate China rather than working with the United States in countering China's unhelpful behavior. Now India is feeling compelled to accommodate China.
So let me ask you, Lisa Curtis,
going to the SCO.
This is an important point because there is a feeling here in strategic and diplomatic circles that this is a Trump-centric problem, that it's not the United States, but it's just Trump. So if we sort of outlast Trump 3 years, things will get better. Do you share that optimism? Do you share that view?
Well, look, I've invested most of my career into building up this U.S.-India relationship. I'm a big believer in how important it is for United States national security. So I certainly do hope that things improve. I hope we don't have to wait 3.5 years. I think it's still possible for the two countries to do a trade deal and to get beyond this very low point in relations. But it's going to take compromise on both sides. Both sides are going to have to find a way to meet each other halfway. So that's what it's going to take. But I do think there's something to the idea that President Trump is leading the charge in what's happening to the U.S.-India relationship, and that this could have something to do with his frustration over India not acknowledging his role in bringing about the ceasefire between India and Pakistan in May. But this is something that we have to move past. President Trump may be frustrated and angry, but at the same time, Prime Minister Modi has his own domestic political considerations and, a history of India not accepting third-party mediation. This goes back to 1972, the Shimla Agreement, where India and Pakistan decided all issues would be decided bilaterally.
Yeah, that's true. So that is a problem, but it's also becoming personalized. I'm sure Mr. Navarro is not speaking without the endorsement of Mr. Trump. He couldn't have written an article in the Washington Post or what have you, without actually having got some sort of an approval. Would you agree?
That's not true.
Well, again, I think President Trump sets the tone, and he has set, unfortunately, a very negative tone toward India. And then you have people who may have never really understood the importance or supported, the importance of the U.S.-India relationship now, are given more rein to say things they may not have been able to say